hold up, don't say anything because you have a big moment.
Oh,
Welcome,
nice.
sir,
Oh, amazing.
the man of the moment. I'll give you the whole screen.
I don't need the whole screen. Greetings,
You don't
greetings,
need the whole
greetings,
screen.
Khalil.
Hi,
Greetings.
Minister Green. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, happy to be here on the iGoat chat. I
Yes,
love
sir.
the I love the name. I love the name. I love the name.
Yeah. I hope you're in the background, enjoying our discussion on your what I think was a really good presentation. You
Thank you,
know.
thank you. I appreciate it. I think
Um,
we're going to have a entire program where I can come on and
mhm.
share. But I saw this and thought it would be a great opportunity to just tune in, even for 5 minutes, to
Appreciate it.
participate.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So since you're only here
Same.
for a short while, I got two
Yes,
questions
sir.
for you, right?
Yeah.
One, the big thing for us we're discussing at the top is the embryo and AI, the semen giveaway, we'll call it, to qualified farmers or registered farmers were the words
Yeah.
you used. And if you could briefly tell us, I know it's early, but how do you envision this working? Because we had a long discussion on it, on how we see it working, because we don't want what happened in the past of animals coming in or investment by the government goes to the wayside and we don't see the effects of it. So we're trying to
Yeah.
make sure as a community here, say if you're gonna go on such a big investment in the sector, you want to make sure it works.
Yeah. So clearly, we have identified livestock for much more targeted support. I think for a very long time, livestock has been like the stepchild of the
Hmm.
agricultural sector,
Yeah.
and I don't think we've really fulfilled our true potential. So we started with the team and we said, what could we do to support the livestock sector some more? And it's twofold. So firstly, it's from a policy perspective. How do you set a policy framework to ensure that your livestock industry gets more support, gets the sort of handholding that it needs, and gets the attention? So, um, part of that means transitioning the Jamaica Dairy Development Board to the National Livestock Board, right? And that means some legislative changes. That means some changes in relation to um, authority for a number of things, but it also means developing a entity that has direct responsibility for the livestock industry and
Okay.
growing the livestock industry in a real way, dealing with things like herd management, tagging, traceability, dealing with things like exploring how we can get our byproducts from our livestock sector into additional markets. So that's
Okay.
critical. Policy framework. But while we do this, and this is the reality with agriculture, um, while we set the policy framework, we still have to take steps now because the problem is real now. So we do import significant amounts of mutton, yes, and that's to satisfy our need for goat meat. And we have to get our farmers to take a much more semi-intensive, intensive approach to goat rearing, right? That
Yes.
means
Yes.
increasing technology in what we do. So it can't be the old time putting the goat out to pasture, waiting for the goat to mate to ensure that you have the numbers. So the process now and the program is aimed at rapid multiplication of our goat population and our small ruminant population, not just goats. So we're going to be working with registered farmers. We're working with the Small Ruminant Association. I think one of the challenges we've had in the past is that we never had a fully built out, reputable, strong Small Ruminant Association. I think everybody can agree that significant strides have been made in that regard now. And we're going to be working with registered farmers. So it's
Okay.
not
So
just
when you say stick up, when you say registered, what do you mean? Registered as a business or registered with RADA?
Registered with RADA.
Okay.
Very important. But remember, the kind of beauty and safety in this program is that you're not just giving out goats. Yes, right? You're taking
Yes.
the artificial insemination route. You're saying to people, choose the breeds that you want, but you're working with people who are already in the industry. And in the industry, approaching it from a professional level. Because again, what we don't want is um, we don't want poor outcomes. We really want to see the rapid multiplication. We really want to see people who appreciate that, you know, artificial insemination, but also the things like fodder, things like how do you ensure that your goats are being well taken care of? What can you do to increase your productivity? Things of that nature. So while we've spoken about the artificial insemination program, part of this program also includes traceability, also includes some hand holding, right, in terms of working with our farmers to see how they can move from not intensive to more semi-intensive care for their goats, appreciating things like fodder banks, right? How you really supplement the feed for your goats. We speak a lot about cow comfort, but how do you ensure that your goats are comfortable? Right? Because all the research has shown when your animals are comfortable, they do better.
Yep.
Right? The outcomes is much better. And that
That's
outcome
true.
is in terms of weight, in terms of the tenderness of the meat. It's amazing to see what the research is showing you in relation to the difference between when you just allow an animal to graze in the hot sun and when you keep that animal in a specified goat house, for example, and bring the feed to the animal, right? So it's not just artificial insemination. Clearly, that's a part of it. And we put that out because clearly that's the main part of it. And what that means is that farmers who are registered would get 1 to 3 straws of semen. Yes.
Yep.
And we also have in the program, you may get an ovum or an embryo. So that's also in the program. But it's a bigger program about technical support. And Colin will tell you, we have done a very good job at training our people in relation to livestock. What we haven't done a good job of is placing the emphasis on it. So we have a lot of well trained people. I mean, I was on a tour of the ministry recently, and I spent the most time with my RADA livestock officer because she's just so passionate about it and about what needs to be done and the kits that they gave out last year and need to do more of, right? So the reality is that we do have a good set of people. What we're now doing is providing the support.
Okay, great. So I have one more question because I know you're short on time. Feed. In your presentation, you mentioned addressing the rising cost of feed. And you mentioned something about subsidizing whether the raw material, the cost of raw material, something to that effect. I do not rephrase you or misrepresent what you said because you're here.
Yeah.
So I'd
Yeah.
rather you explain what your approach is and how you plan to attack
Yeah.
this
So
consistent rise in feed.
we do have a real challenge. And
Yes.
that challenge is because of what is happening on the world market with COVID-19. We are seeing significant increases in the main inputs to feed. And, it stretches across, uh, unfortunately, all sectors in agriculture. So we're seeing it in our chicken feed, we're seeing it in our goat feed, we're seeing it in our pig feed, we're seeing it in fertilizer. Because the reality is that things like corn between September 2020 and now May, we've seen an 80% rise in corn. We've seen a 35% rise in soybean. In fact, worldwide feed prices have risen by about 64%. Locally, we've seen about a 20 to 30% rise in feed. In
Mhm.
fact, when I did my presentation, I said 15 to 20. But in checking back this week, there have been other increases, right? So the reality is that we have to take a number of approaches. So you have to look at it in short, medium, long term.
Yes.
The medium term is we need to see how we can really ramp up our fodder brand production,
Yeah.
right? We haven't taken it seriously. And we have to substitute more of the feed with fodder. Fodder,
Okay.
silage, very important, right? And again, we haven't treated it like a business. So we're going to have to work with more of our private sector players to say, get into hay production, get into fodder production, get into fodder banks, right? Provide us with that we can then supply to our farmers, right? That is the medium term, but it's something we have to start now. And we have to work with the private sector to get them to recognize that we need significant plots of land in fodder production, right? Because that would help us tremendously.
So
The
are you going
reality
to
is
be designating some of this government land
100
for that initiative?
100%. We're going to be
Okay.
designating some of the government sugarcane lands. We're going to be
Mm-hmm.
working with people already in possession of leaseholds to the government to
Mm-hmm.
say to them, look at this opportunity. And already the Jamaica Dairy Development Board has already started engaging people in that regard. Because it's critical. People don't appreciate, quite frankly, right? The concept of fodder, right? In
Yeah.
South St. Elizabeth, before livestock, we appreciate that you have fields just for grass because we do mulching
Mm-hmm.
and it's the most sacred commodity, but we have to spread that. So we're going to do that. So that's a medium term, but we have to
Yes.
start that now, right? The long term, quite frankly, I believe we will have to look at storage facilities for some of the critical elements of our feed makeup. And let me explain to you. The reality is that we don't have the economies of scale to grow some of the critical elements of feed, right? And it doesn't make sense we hide from the reality, right? We've done some of the tests and we know we just can't get the price point that would make it worthwhile for feed. So what that means is that you need to have storage so you can buy these items when they're at a low end.
Yeah.
Store them so that when they're at a high ebb, you could now release them. So ideally, what we should be doing now in this crisis is that the government should have a storage capacity that the private sector who prepares feed will be able to say, okay, on the world market, corn has gone up by 80%. I'm coming to you, government, right? And we say, okay, we bought corn when it was low, so we can send it to at cost, and you can keep the feed prices down. But that's the long-term solution
Yes.
because it means putting in the storage capacity and having the resources to buy these feeds and the mixes to make the feed. In the short term, we're going to look at subsidies. We haven't clearly, subsidies are not easy, right? Because it takes money, and right now is a very difficult time. Government lost $70 billion in revenue last year. So I've asked my peers to look at our budget, which is really chicken and bones, to see if there is anything that can be done in the short term to put in a subsidy program for our livestock sector, especially based on the impact of feed. So we are having those meetings now. We're meeting with our private providers. We're meeting internally to look at our budget. So I would say give me another couple of weeks and then we'll have a more definitive outcome as to whether we can or we can't. I'm not promising, right? But we're looking at it because we appreciate that a number of our livestock farmers are suffering now. And clearly, we're going to continue the research to see what can be uh, supplemented in our feedstock, right? If we're able to even supplement 20% of the ingredients to food, to the feed, it would be significant. So we're going to continue that research. Some research has started, but overall, I know a lot of people say why we don't grow corn, why we don't grow. It's just not feasible, right? It's just not feasible.
Okay. Understood, sir. Thank you for taking the time. And
No
you
problem.
know that there's an open invitation. I need you to on
Yeah,
the
so
show for an hour.
we're gonna
Yes.
organize a chat that
Yes.
I'll come and spend the entire time.
Yes,
And
sir.
I know there's still a lot to be done. I hope
Hmm.
people have seen the presentation. If you haven't, you can check the social media pages and reach out to me. You know, we're in this thing together, and together we will transform Jamaica because agriculture is the real force that will transform Jamaica.
All right. You hear
All
it
right.
from the minister himself. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
No
All right,
problem.
boss. Thank you.
All right. Good, good. Yeah.
That was good, eh?
Hey, man, he's a man of his word. I can
Yep.
say that much. You know what I mean? I like this presentation. I thought there was a lot of good things, great things in there for our sector. And he stuck to his word and say if he can jump on, he'll jump on.